Lunar Horizon Moonbase had fallen. Specimens 28 and 8 had managed to escape to Earth as the test subjects ran rampant in the uprising, resulting in the death of all human scientists. It took many months for order to establish amongst the species, as most had been genetically modified to varying degrees of lethality. Many created smaller factions to survive, but it was the apes that ultimately won victory over the colony. For they held the hydroponics lab, the only space where new food could be grown, something which wasn't easily done in outer space. The apes took advantage of this, and before long, the other factions began to kneel to their allegiances, until eventually the new moon colony was created. New Moon Colony had become a vast utopia for all kinds of modified species living under the fearsome rule of the apes. Their minds warped by the cunning leadership, humans became enemy number one, as weapons, armor, and all sorts of dangerous technologies began production. For the apes wanted more than the moon. They desired their creator's home, Earth. Plans were in motion under the guile of their fearsome ape overlord, a large silverback gorilla, one of the original experiments that turned an ape hyper-intelligent. He went by the name of Welcome to the hero reveal of Tiberius, the ape leader of New Moon Colony. Tiberius is a tank hero and he has 500 health in open queue and 650 health in the roll queues. First up, Tiberius has a passive ability called Alpha Presence. For every enemy hero within an 8-meter range of Tiberius, he temporarily gains 50 overhealth to his total health pool. The health gained from enemies won't be stackable from the same hero, meaning Tiberius can only gain 50 overhealth per unique hero marker while they are within 8 meters of range. If an enemy leaves the 8-meter range, or if they die, Tiberius will lose that 50 bonus health for that hero, reducing his total health pool. Tiberius' left click and basic attack is called New Moon Railgun. New Moon Railgun is capable of long-range hits with no real limit to its attack distance. New Moon Railgun has a total of 10 ammunition, and every 5 direct hits on an enemy target within a 10-second time frame will apply an effect called Zero Gravity. While affected by Zero Gravity, enemies move slower for the next 1.5 seconds while they are jumping exclusively and gain a Zero Gravity style jump effect, floating upward and then coming down again at a 20% reduced speed to what they normally would. After the 1.5 seconds, Zero Gravity will automatically fade from the target unless it is reapplied again, though as mentioned, this effect cannot be stacked. New Moon Railgun has a 0.7 second attack speed rate per individual shot. Reload time is 1.5 seconds. Tiberius' right-click ability is called Gravity Beam. By holding the right-click button, Tiberius can turn his basic attack bolts into a more concentrated and powerful laser beam. This will look similar to Zarya's basic attack and will burn through your ammo at a much quicker rate. 2 ammo is drained each second while you hold down the right-click button, meaning that once you are out of ammunition, the attack will stop. Enemies hit by the gravity beam are slowed by 20% while the beam is directly on them. If they leave the beam, this effect will diminish. While more powerful, Gravity Beam only has a 10-meter range and a maximum of 5 seconds unleash time before a reload is required, based on a full charge of ammunition, meaning that Tiberius is quite capable of long-distance attacks via his left click or a closer all-out assault with his Gravity Beam when paired with his Alpha Presence passive. Tiberius' E ability is called Zero Pillar. By targeting a circular area of 4 meters wide, you can throw a device that can manipulate the very gravity in the area, creating a cylindrical pillar of energy that is in constant fluctuation and appears somewhat like a hologram or flow of energy torrenting upward. Enemies caught in the energy will float off the ground and become immobilized while they are trapped inside the area. Enemies trapped inside cannot move or attack and will flail about as if they are caught in the zero gravity energy. If enemies are damaged in any way, the effects of the pillar are immediately nullified on that particular enemy, and they won't be able to be trapped again by the same pillar while it remains active until a new one is set. Zero pillar lasts up to a maximum of 5 seconds unless Tiberius dies. If allies or Tiberius himself move inside the pillar, it will instead launch them upwards in a floating style in a similar fashion to how Lifeweaver's platforms give a height and mobility advantage to the team. Enemies caught in the zero pillar can be life gripped out of the area via a friendly Lifeweaver, and if an enemy is in an unstoppable state, they will be immune to the effects of the field. Zenyatta's ultimate and Kiriko's cleanse will also work on zero pillar and cancel its effects on a target. Cooldown for zero pillar is 15 seconds. Next up, Tiberius' left shift ability is called Deflector Shield. By pushing the left shift button, Tiberius can activate a large personal shield from his arm in front of him. This shield will be 6 meters wide, which is slightly smaller than Reinhardt's shield width, and 2.5 meters tall. While the Deflector Shield is active, Tiberius will be unable to move or use any other attacks or abilities, and he must hold the left shift to keep the shield active at his current position. The Deflector Shield will be capable of absorbing and nullifying all incoming enemy attacks that try to penetrate the shield, and it will also be capable of stopping enemies from passing through it, as if it were a wall, meaning that even charging enemies such as Morgott, Reinhardt, or even Junker Queen during her ultimate will not be able to penetrate through the shield while it is active, making it a very powerful asset and somewhat balancing its downsides of limiting Tiberius when he uses it. Deflector Shield can last for a maximum of 8 seconds if the left shift is held for its full duration, to where afterwards it will automatically run out of power and need to recharge before being deployed again via the cooldown. While at first the shield may seem impenetrable, enemies such as Sombra can hack the shield to dismantle it, as well as Ramacha being able to punch directly through it due to his unique abilities. The shield itself has no health and it cannot be destroyed by any other means. If Tiberius dies, the Deflector Shield will also automatically deactivate. Cooldown for Deflector Shield is 8 seconds. And finally guys, Tiberius' ultimate ability is called Zero Zone. Tiberius emits a powerful zero energy around him within a constant range of 15 meters while he is traveling. This zone will follow and allow Tiberius and his allies nearby to essentially free fly while within his zone by utilizing the jump key to fly upward and the directional keys and aim to change the direction of travel, as well as move forward and backwards in a zero gravity floating style of flight. Tiberius and allies, while in the zero zone, gain a 20% movement speed buff, meaning they become quite agile. Enemies, while within the zero zone, will receive the zero energy debuff, to where if they jump, they are slowed by 20%, as in similar effect to what his basic attack debuff does. Though this will be permanently active while they are within the zero zone, and the effects will not be cancelled on enemies until the ultimate ends or they leave the area of effect. Zero Zone lasts for a total of 8 seconds or until Tiberius is defeated. Zero Zone could see you moving your entire team with you to quickly take advantage of distant points or to help your allies escape from dense enemy fire, or take advantage of aerial assaults as you bombard your enemies into submission. All heroes, while within the Zero Zone, can still utilize their attacks and abilities, though some abilities may be hindered by the effects. Ally heroes such as Tracer can zip forward while in midair. Pharah will gain powerful movement enhancements and mobility with the benefit of not draining her fuel as she flies. Wrecking Ball will have an aided flying system to where he can freely target enemies with his pile driver without being too reliant on his hooks. Even heroes such as Widow could benefit from the higher angled snipe areas. Enemies under the effects of Unstoppable or Zenyatta's ultimate will be immune to the debuff while they are within the Zero Zone. This new season will be titled Crisis on the Moon, and it will revolve around the forgotten experiments on the Horizon lunar colony and their takeover of the base and how they have turned it into a powerful colony ruled by Tiberius and his apes. This season there will be a new map, a new arcade mode which is very Christmassy themed, and also some new skins. And first up guys, we have a new map. This map will be a Clash style map titled New Moon Colony, to where players can run through the familiar older style areas of the Horizon Lunar Colony and see how it has been opened up into a large city full of dome-like white structures on the other side of the map, with signs of intelligent animals living there all around the map, from scratch marks to no human posters to pods catered for specific animals. The no human signs posted around the city could perhaps even draw the gaze of potential Omnic faction communications from Earth that are against the humans also. So seeing some type of Omnic activity up here could also be a really cool design. This could hint also at potential new stories, new heroes, and amazing new lore that they could add down the track, which could be really cool if done right. Next up guys, we have the new arcade mode, and this is a Christmas themed one. For this new arcade mode, I'm adding my own spin to the Winter Wonderland theme with the new arcade mode titled Sleigh Wars. And yes, I know I am a bit behind on the Christmas video posting, as this year I have been quite busy and took a little break from doing videos. For Sleigh Wars, there will be a total of 3 rounds, with the best of 2 rounds winning the game. This mode will see teams of 5v5, and each round will have a 10-minute timer, with 2 teams each consisting of all May heroes. Skins can be chosen freely in this mode by the player. Each team of 5 is in their own sleigh, and they will both start next to each other before the match begins. A 20-second timer will begin counting down when you enter the match, and players will be able to walk around freely during this time, but they will be unable to attack or use any abilities until the timer reaches 0. Once the match officially starts, both teams of Mays will need to hop onto their respective sleighs and move them forward by using their Ice Blaster, and aiming it in front of their sleighs to dictate where they will travel. Wherever an ice path is formed in front of their respective sleighs, their team's sleigh will automatically move forwards and over the ice path made by them, stopping if there is no ice to travel along. Mays during this mode will have access to the basic attack freeze gun to move these sleighs forward, but it will not be able to do any damage if you spray an enemy with it. Instead, Mays snipe and right click in this mode will launch snowballs and will be the only way to damage the enemy team's Mays directly, dealing smaller increments of damage to enemies for each snowball's direct hit. Snowballs will take the same ammo as ice snipes normally do, and recharge times for Mays endothermic blaster will all remain the same. Mays on each team will also gain access to their Ice Wall ability and their Cryo Freeze respectively, as well as their ultimate ability once it charges up as per a normal game, though each May will only be able to use their Wall and their Cryo Freeze once, unless they collect presents around the map, to where their ability ammo will replenish back up and become usable again. Presents will randomly spawn around the map and along the racetrack, and Mays will be able to collect them personally by running off of their sleigh to get them. Or if their whole team manages to get their sleigh to travel over a present, their whole team will gain the reward with the ×1 ammo to all of their abilities and an extra boost to their individual ultimate charge instead of individually. On top of this, random snowmen will be littered around the map, to where if a team's sleigh runs into one of them, they will be hindered for a few seconds and the sleigh will be frozen, unable to move. There's a slight balance to the gameplay. Mays that aren't on their sleighs will find themselves being constantly damaged, and they will eventually die if they leave their sleigh for too long. If a May dies, they will have to wait for the usual spawn timer and will spawn directly onto their team's respective sleigh once they have respawned back in. Mays that aren't on top of their sleighs also cannot use their freezer guns to form ice paths unless they are back on their sleigh, but they can still attack with their snowballs and use their other abilities such as the cryo freeze or the walls. Each map rotation will have barricades set up, meaning that it will be a straightish kind of racetrack with corners and slopes depending on the map towards the finish line. Like in this example here, this path and barricade will aim to avoid players trying to steer their sleighs into small spaces or houses, to which it will just bog out the mode and stop a team from proceeding further. As a fun little addition to the mode, the ice paths that you create via your Maze endothermic blaster will become more powerful if additional Maze on your team are shooting the same area. giving your Sleigh more speed as it moves forward, meaning that it will be up to your team to decide whether you focus on deterring enemies or flooring it with the full force of your team towards victory. If a 10-minute match timer has fully counted down, the team with the furthest distance travelled will be the winner of the round, or naturally whoever reaches the finish line first on each round. And lastly guys, we have the new skins for this season, and the theme for this season will be outer space. First up, we have Astro May. This skin is essentially May in a spacesuit. I was initially going to make it more orange and red, but I decided to stick to May's blue and white aesthetic theme, giving her blue lights around her helmet and little capsules of liquid nitrogen around her waist that she uses to freeze her targets. Next up, we have a slight recolor to a Sigma skin that I did previously. Here is Deep Space Sigma. This skin, I kept the black hole-headed theme to my previous iterations and just changed his coloring to a more purple. I also darkened his armor plating and added a purplish glow to certain areas just to accentuate his power in this form. And lastly guys, we have a really unique Juno skin with Unknown Species Juno. Here I took inspirations from a previous hero I did. Her hair is made up of stars that constantly move and shine. I gave her an alien-like face and glowing armor, as well as more darker accents around her jacket and glows around her weapon and boots in particular. Anyway guys, as always, thank you for watching the hero reveal of Tiberius.